Peace. What's going on, everybody? This Lord Supreme. I wanted to touch on a nice subject, and I know I did a couple of times, but this time I'm going to go a little bit more into depth, so that way people could gain an understanding of what I'm saying and understand the context of what I'm saying to them. Now, I want to build on the science of God, right? Now, ultimately, we're going to do this biblically. When you look at God in the biblical term, or, or biblically speaking, you can see that God is clearly a man. Now, here's why. First and foremost, you know, a lot of clues in the Bible gives you little hints and understanding of who God is and what is God, basically physically describing him. Now, one key thing that a lot of brothers and sisters don't pay attention to is the last book of the Bible, which is Revelations. Now, Revelations is not the last book as far as Judgment Day. It's not talking about that. It's not talking about the ending. It's talking about the signs of the times, which is, very near correct. But one scripture that describes God to the T is Revelations chapter 1, verse 14 through 16. And it said, "And I saw the Son of Man, and his hair was like wool, his skin like bronze, his feet like brass, his eyes of a fiery furnace, and his voice the sound of many waters or rushing waters in some Bibles." Now, a lot of Christians will say God has no gender, but I disagree with that statement because first and foremost, if God gives you life, right? If God gives you life and He can take away your life, how is that possible if that cannot be physically done? You feel what I'm saying? Or how can God give life, you know, on a physical level? Easy, through sexual reproduction. So that to me explains that God is a man. But I'm not gonna just give you that. I'm gonna also break things down as far as the physical composition of God. Now, there are a lot of verses in the Bible that clearly states who and what is God physically. Now, right, before we get into that, we're gonna talk geographically. Now, when the Bible talks, as far as geography and ontology and everything, it's talking about location, place and time, and current events. Now, there's a couple things in the Bible where it explains where God is. You know, He's talking about Ethiopia, the Euphrates River. These are geographical terms that help people understand where this situation takes place. Now, as far as other geographics, you can see, Cush, Mizraim, many different places in the Bible. But you got to realize that the Bible was changed throughout the years. It was changed from one language to another, which was English. You know what I'm saying? And it was originally written in Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? The Hebrew Bible. A lot of context and a lot of language is written in Hebrew, and it means certain things. But the English language has so many definitions on what one word means, with like 26 definitions. So overall, what I'm saying is this: you can never take that Bible on face value. Always cross-reference and examine it clearly with an open mind. Don't just look at it religiously, because when you look at it religiously, you're gonna end up thinking religious questions or have a religious dogmatic idea of how you see God. Don't see Him religiously. See Him as far as mentally and open-mindedly. All right. Okay. So now we're talking about geographics. You know, you got the verse where even Jesus said, "I and my Father are one." Because if a lot of Christians say that Jesus was 100% man and 100% God, and then in Revelation it explains the physical composition of God, How can you not correlate those two together of who is God? He's black. You feel what I'm saying? It's just easy to see that. You have to be open-minded. You can't look at that book religiously, because that book will fuck you up in many different aspects of the word fucked up. You will be sitting here confused, boggled, trying to figure shit out. But if you open your mind and really look at it clearly, you're gonna see something like, oh wait, it's talking about God, but it's talking about he has a hand, he's a jealous God. So that means that God has feelings. You feel what I'm saying? And then he says, you know, he has feet. He walked in the garden in the cool of the day. Now, some Christians might say that's spiritually. Okay, I may be able to see that, but also, how can a spirit have feet if it can't be seen? You ever ask that? You ever ask yourself that question? How can a spirit have feet if it can't be seen? Moses saw God face to face, just as a friend, would talk to his friend face to face. Even a time where God told Moses, "I will put you in a cleft of the rock, and you will see my hind parts." That means my back. So God has a back. You feel what I'm saying? Okay, these are physical compositions. Even in Proverbs, it says, "The eyes of the Lord are everywhere, looking on good and evil." So if there's eyes, not just spiritually, but that's also physically. But one thing you gotta also understand, let me throw this in there so people could get a better understanding, is that the Bible is allegorical, analogical, symbolic, and figurative and literal. You feel what I'm saying? Certain things you have to really take literal. Some things you have to take figurative. Some things you have to look at symbolically and understand the meaning behind it, what it means or how it's defined. Okay. Now, when you think about God, God is a person, a man of war, and the Lord is his name. This is in Exodus. It even says God is a man of war, and the Lord is his name. So if he's a man of war, that means he's a man. You feel what I'm saying? Because if you think about it, right, why would you use all these pronouns to describe a person? Okay. Now, let me give you an example. If I say, "Yo, Jamal, where you at?" And he said, "Oh, I'm at the mall," right? Now, if somebody asked me, now one of my boys asked me, he's like, "Yo, you was just speaking to Jamal?" I said, "Yes." He just told me that he's at the mall. Who is he? He is Jamal. He is a pronoun taking the place of a noun. You see what I'm saying? It's taking the place of the name. You're substituting a name for a pronoun. You know what I'm saying? Like you could say Elizabeth, woman, she, her, female, girl, you know? And it is so crazy because when you look at the Bible, you gotta look at it in those perspectives. Look at it from a physical and look at it from a mental. Look at it from a literal, look at it from a figurative, look at it from a symbolic, and look at it through life analogies and examples of who and what is God. Because that is the only way you're going to understand the concept and the science of God. Because God is a man. It's been shown and proven time and time again. It's just the idea that some people don't want to wake up. They want this spiritual daddy. You feel what I'm saying? They want this spiritual daddy that can comfort them and console them and everything. Now, if you want to talk about Jesus, we could talk about that too, but we could get that in a later bill because, right now I'm about to head back home and get some rest. But we could continue this on another time because that science of Jesus is some heavy science, but it's real simple and in its purest form. So, like I said, we can explain this at another time. And once I do break this down, you'll have a better understanding of who and what is God, and not just people throwing the idea of who they say God is. Feel me? Y'all take it easy. Have a good morning. And I'll build you in the near future. Peace.